Ever wondered why political courage has become such a rare commodity? The moment demands it, yet leadership remains hollow. The crisis erupting around the government's proposed welfare reforms isn't merely a policy debate, it's a full-blown identity crisis for Labour. A crisis of conviction, compassion, and credibility. What's unfolding in Parliament is not governance, it's retreat under the guise of reform. Angela Rayner may have stood at the dispatch box last week with the composure expected of a deputy prime minister, but what surrounded her was political fragmentation. With Keir Starmer abroad at a NATO summit, it fell on Rayner to face a Commons chamber pulsing with rebellion. Over 120 Labour MPs, nearly a third of the party, broke ranks over the welfare reform bill. That number alone signals institutional failure. But the true collapse lies in the leadership's refusal to listen, consult, or even acknowledge the scale of the discontent. Instead, Starmer dismissed the revolt as background noise. That flippant remark alone tells the nation everything it needs to know about how his government perceives not only internal democracy but the vulnerable people these reforms will impact. Angela Rayner parroted the same confidence, insisting the bill would move forward unaltered. But arrogance isn't strength. It's a smokescreen for indecision and a lack of moral backbone. This is not just about fiscal realignment. It's a question of what kind of society we are willing to be. The welfare system is not a technical appendage to be tinkered with. It is a moral contract, between the government and the people who need support not because they are lazy, but because life is brutal and often unfair. Slashing disability benefits and narrowing eligibility for universal credit under the guise of promoting employment is a cruel miscalculation. It frames need as deceit. It weaponizes austerity under the illusion of fairness. The government claims the current system incentivizes long-term unemployment, discourages recovery, and leaves people stuck in dependency. But the proposed reforms, cutting billions from support for those with disabilities or mental health conditions, offer no meaningful path forward. They offer punishment. A state that refuses to understand the complexity of disability is a state unworthy of power. It is not reform when the result is increased poverty, homelessness, or desperation, it's regression. Inside Labour's ranks, this was understood. The rebellion wasn't confined to left-wing backbenchers. It included moderates, veterans, and even former ministers. This was a cross-sectional alarm bell. Their message was clear: a party that claims to represent working people cannot simultaneously lead the charge in dismantling the lifelines those people rely on. The leadership's response? Authoritarian dismissal. No amendments, no concessions. Just the smug belief that parliamentary majorities absolve them of moral accountability. This isn't just political miscalculation, it's ethical erosion. How can a party that once stood as the architect of the welfare state become its dismantler? Rayner's performance under pressure reflected this disconnect. Rather than presenting a thoughtful defense or showing openness to internal critique, she recited lines written in the cold language of spreadsheets and policy briefs. There was no human story in her delivery, no acknowledgement of the very real fear these proposals have sparked across the country. Instead of reassurance, the public saw resistance to transparency. And in politics, silence on suffering is betrayal. Chancellor Rachel Reeves may eventually present a costed plan to fund any amendments or concessions. But if the conversation remains confined to spreadsheets and forecasts, Labour will miss the deeper cost, the cost of abandoning its founding values. A Labour Party that cannot defend the disabled, the ill, the jobless, and the voiceless is no longer a Labour Party. It is something else entirely, a party chasing respectability while shedding responsibility. The pattern is emerging, and it's not flattering. U-turns on inquiries, flip-flops on fuel benefits, incoherence on immigration, each retreat chips away at public trust. Starmer promised competence, clarity, and purpose. What the country is witnessing is cautious authoritarianism wrapped in a hollow appeal to unity. Every time internal dissent is crushed rather than confronted, Labour steps closer to irrelevance. This welfare bill is more than legislation, it's a moral test. Does Labour govern to win headlines or to serve people? Does it believe in social justice, or has that ideal been sacrificed on the altar of electoral calculus? The government may argue it is modernizing welfare. But modernization without humanity is just rebranding cruelty. The vote on this bill is approaching. The government still has time to pause, reflect, and act with integrity. Starmer can listen. Rayner can lead. They can embrace dissent as a signal, not a threat. Or they can barrel forward, dragging a reluctant party behind them, hoping the public won't notice the growing dissonance between Labour's past and its present. The choice is clear. Reform with empathy, or cut with indifference. Lead with courage, or command with fear. This isn't just about what kind of government Labour wants to be. It's about what kind of country it wants to govern. One that protects its people, or one that punishes them for falling behind. The stakes could not be higher. If Labour fails this test, it doesn't just lose votes. It loses its soul. And that is something no party, no matter how well disciplined or poll-tested, can afford to forfeit.